when you've got the right people and you start creating the right culture, it cash flows a ton. And again, you create a good environment for people.
What is up, Growth House family? It's your host, Jesse Ray. I'm here with one of my friends, Fernando. We connected Fernando like over a year ago now. And it's just cool to actually see this come full circle because we were both talking about CoLiving. We're talking about pad splits. And you are a loan officer and you are absolutely crushing it. And I remember I said, hey, man, come on the podcast, but hit this goal. Let's make sure you're at this level, let's just say. And he said, all right, Jesse, cool. Less than a year later, after I told you that, you're like, Jesse, I blew your goal out the water. Challenge accepted. Like, let's go. And you're absolutely on fire. You're crushing it. And also, you're someone that I keep seeing again and again in like friendship circles that I have. Like, oh, you know Fernando too. Oh, you're connected with mutual friends. And I love to see that. I love to see the network just growing and people being a part of it. And so before we kick it off, what's one fact that people don't know about you?
Man, a fact that people don't know about me. I'm going to do a good one, and then I'll do a guilty pleasure one. So a good one is I played for the LA Galaxy. They're under 18 squad here in California. So LA Galaxy, like the soccer team, back when David Beckham was here with Landon Donovan, we trained in the same like academy facility like here in California. And then we traveled to Europe to play Manchester City, West Ham United, like Chelsea Stadium. Like there's all these places we went to as a team. One fact there. And then the guilty pleasure, man, is for all the right people out there, who are my anime lovers? You know what I mean? Anime lovers, guilty pleasure.
Okay,
That's
yep.
it, dude.
I love it, dude. There's so many people that I'm like, wait, you like anime? Like, you just never know who likes it, and there's a huge fan base. I personally have never like got into it. I was more like, if I had to say like a TV show or something I grew up watching and I'll still watch it, it's probably Star Wars. Like that's like I was a Star Wars fan growing up. Was this something anime that you always? Yeah, that was my thing, man. All right. I love that. I love just having some people like get to know you deeper, on a personal level too, because at the end of the day, like Growth House, we're all about relationships first and then, business. And so people got to know a little bit about you, but let's start with where you're at right now. And then we'll take a step back. So you just had a crazy month. Like, go ahead, tell people how well you're doing. And then we'll take a step back and how'd you get there?
Yeah. So some unbelievable month. I was telling you, most money I've ever made in my life is $150,000 last month in July. And the month before that, right? Yeah, 1 month, right? May, the next biggest month was in May when I hit you up was 86,000. You were like, all right, Fernando, like hit 80K and like, we'll talk. And I was like, hey bro, I hit 86. And then I hit you back up, like, because I know you were traveling. I was like, August came, we ran our numbers and we're like, dang, we hit 150. And I know most people ask like, okay, well, how much of that is profit? So if I was looking at operating profit, which maybe for your members, there's operating profit, there's gross profit, operating profit, and then there's like net profit. Operating profit is like, what's the cost to run my business? So if I'm looking at operating profit, 40K is probably expenses. I make 150, I'm probably taking home 110. And then if I go to net profit, it's like, okay, well, I got to pay, whatever other things to get my tax burden down. So even though I'm making a lot of money, at the same time, I'm like, freak, shiza, because that means I'm going to pay a lot of taxes if I show too much income. So on my profit and loss statement, like I'm inside of a studio ADU. It was like 40 grand to build. That's all my tax write-off, but I'm not including that in my operating profit, right? That's going to be in my net profit, that deduction. So just for everybody listening in.
I just have a question for your type of business. What are the normal expenses you have to account for?
So I have a remote business. The company is called Remote Lender. You could check it out. So expenses that it's very intentional. Okay. different schools of thought out there. But now we're getting into like how I wanted to design this business. Because remember, I've only had this business for 1 year. I've only technically been a loan officer for 1 year. So when I tell people, that we did 28 loans in a month as a 1 year old loan officer, before that I was just an investor, that. Um, so then when I thought, what's the business I want to scale? And I want to scale lean, right? How can I be very lean when I scale? So I didn't want an office. I didn't want a building. I want to work remotely. I want to work while I travel, right? Like I started to design my life. And then so I started to scale with virtual assistants from the Philippines. And of course, trusted virtual assistants using secure software, VPNs, like all that stuff, right? Managing people's information securely. But that's how I started. So in the beginning, it was like I would close 1 or 2 loans, but my expenses was only like $1,000 to $2,000. So I'm like, okay, I'm good. And then I went to 2, 3, 4, 5. Like once we got to like 5 employees from the Philippines, then I needed to look in the US. So as of right now, in a group, we have a team of 10. 7 are from the Philippines and 3 are from the US. And so as of right now, like those 10 employees are like my biggest expenses. And then you've got CRM, you got to track CRM stuff. We got ClickUp for our project management tool. And then miscellaneous softwares that support us. We use Make instead of Zapier. Zapier is an automation tool. We use Make instead. That's
Okay,
really
I
it.
love
That's
that.
it.
I love that breakdown because people are going to be like, all right, yeah, I'm curious. Let me break down what that looks like. And that's a lot of people within a year. That's awesome. I love the growth. So, what I want to pivot towards is you're an investor, but before you're an investor, you obviously had to make some money to start investing. So, walk me through that journey. Where'd you start?
Yeah, man. So I graduated as an engineer, and I thought, what did they tell you when you were? Did you go to college? Remind me what college you went to.
Yeah, I went to a little school in Portland. They say go to school and you'll get a great job.
Yes. So I got sold the dream of if I'm good at math, I should go and be an engineer. And I was like, well, how much does an engineer make? And they're like $100,000. And I was like, whoa, $100,000. Like people that I looked up to told me that was a lot of money. So I thought it was a lot of money. And I graduated, got my engineering degree, and I went to go work for an engineering company. Actually, I worked as a sales engineer, and I made $100,000, like 22, 23 years old. But then I was like, all right, cool. Like, let me go buy that Lambo. Like, let me go buy the house on the beach. And then I go to find out how much things actually cost. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, what do you mean I can't buy a Lambo? Like, what do you mean I can't afford the house on the beach? And they're like, yeah, dude, like $100,000 a year is only whatever, $7,000 a month, maybe 6,000. You know what I mean? Like after your 401k deductions and your taxes and all that stuff, your take home is like 5 or 6 grand. And I was like, what? So quick, like I just spent 4 years of my life believing that if I did this, I could achieve this. I know it sounds ignorant or naive to not know, like, that privilege of not knowing the cost of things. But I didn't do the research. I literally didn't look at what a mortgage was. I didn't know what interest rates were. Like all that stuff in college, I had no idea about. I just had this belief that if I became an engineer, I'd make enough money to have the things that I want. And that wasn't true. So to get to your point, I left. I stopped all that world, and I went off on my own. I met a woman, met a girl, and her name's Amy, and she was my girlfriend at the time. And I told her I have this crazy idea. Why don't you take your money and invest out of state? Because I had quit my job and I didn't have any money. I had liquidated my 401k to survive. And my girlfriend at the time, which now she's my wife, dude, she's like, I'm down. She was like, let's do it. And we bought our first pad split. We bought our first property in Atlanta. I say we because we own it together now. But at the time, dude, she was like my first private money lender. She was the first person to believe in me, to believe that investing was possible, that investing out of state was possible. And she used all of her money, $65,000 saved over 5 years on a teacher's salary. And she's like, let's do it. So that's how we got started. And since then, we've been able to build a little bit and continue to grow with other people's money. And that's what we've been doing. And then building this business.
So let's take a step back before we dive into like active versus passive income, because that's something that we can talk a lot about because we both have experienced this passive income myth of, hey, once you have 10K per month, like you're set for life. Like, nah, that's not really how it works. So, but take a step back. How'd you even hear about Pad Split? Why'd you decide to do co-living as your first like investment?
Yeah, man. It took us 9 months to buy our first property. And the main reason why was because we didn't know what good was. So it's who you listen to and who you're around to find out what good is. So like when we met some investors, they were like, "Oh yeah, man, like we make $100 to $300 per property." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Like how much do you have to make to get into that property?" And they're like, "Oh, maybe like 70 grand." And I was like doing the math. I was like, "All right, 1 + 1, got to carry the one." I was like, numbers don't really work out. Like you would need 100 of these to make $10,000 or something, right? And it just like wasn't clicking for me. I don't want 100 properties at $100 profit per property. Like that just seems crazy to me. So we just kept looking, like what's good. So then we found, we found something that could do $500 per month, right? Cash flow. And I was like, ooh, is that good? We don't know. Let's keep looking. So we kept looking and asking and asking. We finally found a mentor, and they were making $1,000 in profit per month. And I was like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And they were in Tennessee, and they were buying houses that had basements, converting the basements, renting by the room. It was basically co-living, but they weren't using PadSplit at the time. PadSplit wasn't in Tennessee, but they were just doing co-living. So then I said, okay, well, how can we do that remotely? And that's how we got introduced to PadSplit. This was in 2020. And PadSplit had been around for a few years. So people had been doing it, but they weren't as big as they were now. And so we said, okay, well, let's look into that. And so we bought that property for $165,000. We put 15% down, $30,000 in reno. So all in was like 65 grand. $15,000 of the renovations were put on 0% credit cards. And that year we made like $20,000 in profit, for our first year. And that's how we started our journey, man.
Dang. So that's like what was that, like $1,500 a month? What's 20,000 about? No, so it's like, yeah, a little over $1,000 a month. And you put
Yeah.
in 65K and the house is only like 100. I guess probably what's the ARV now? Well, what's the
You're probably at like 250 to 280 is probably
okay.
the value of the property. So
That's
it's
crazy.
appreciated a
So
decent amount.
yeah, so
Dude,
two
the
hundred
house
fifty
makes
thousand
us
dollars.
on a that's the but the our cost basis was so low because our interest rate was 3%. So right now
Mm,
that property, based off current rental values, we're making easily $2,000 profit a month. Easy.
that's
So that's
amazing.
why that's it, dude. So it's like, let's go do this again. So we got the second one, then we got a third one, and then we got a fourth one. You know what I mean? And then we just
And
kept
and
doing
then
it. But then we ran
how'd
into
you
the
finance those next ones?
So the first one, since my wife had a W-2 job, it was again my girlfriend, we there was a 15% down conventional loan program, and even 15% down, we were still getting a rate at 3%. It was crazy, 3.5%. The second one, we ran out of money. So this is where I started to see the passive income paradox, right? That we want passive income, but every time, if you like, as soon as you get it, you lose some active income, right? In that process, it was a paradox there. And I was like, oh, like, shoot, okay, we bought one. How do we buy the next one? So that's when I helped a few people get their Padlets to get my confidence up, build my skill set, just share this like more with other people. And after I helped my brother get his, my friend get some, and just started spreading the word, my wife's parents, they had a HELOC. So we bought the second one with the HELOC and used a 10% down vacation home loan. So again, using my wife's W-2 income, 10% down, then we use the HELOC with help with the renovations. So, that property was 230,000. So 10% of that is 23 grand plus closing costs. So that money was, us, we put that money, and then we got the HELOC to help pay for the renovations to do the conversion to PadSplit. And then the third and fourth one, it's actually a pretty cool story. Just to go on a small tangent, anybody who's building their real estate journey right now, I don't know how early they are, but I started sharing my journey on Instagram, just like posting, even though I wasn't like, I wasn't anything amazing. You know, maybe we had like one or two properties and I was just like sharing my journey. And because I wanted to try this personal brand thing, like, well, what happens if I share? I started to share. I started to like share at meetups, and then 6 months later, we get under contract with one private money lender, and they pull out 5 days before. And so now I've got my own $5,000 EMD. I'm like, shoot, like really bummed out. My wife's like, dang it, you shouldn't have trusted them. You should have had them put their earnest money in. And I was like, nah, like they gave me their word. So I'm very much like a word person. Like if you give me your word, I'm gonna take you for it. So I got kind of put in a tough spot, and I just sent a message out to my Instagram followers, and I had like 2,500 followers. Um, and I was just like, hey guys, like I need 30 grand or 35 grand to keep this deal alive. You know, anybody who's got this money, you know, reach out to me. And of the whole 2,500 followers, you know, whatever, maybe 10% or 20% saw the story. One person reached out, and she reached out to me, and we got on a call, and I was like, yo, like I don't even know you. Like, I didn't say that to her, but I was like, how did you know about me? And she was like, oh, I've been following you for 6 months, and I've been wanting to get into real estate, and I really like what you've been doing. So she's like, and I want to get involved. So dude, seriously, she ended up bringing in $96,000 to do this deal that I never met her before. She'd just been following me for 6 months, building that trust. She never DM'd me. We never had a conversation. I just sent that one message. Literally all my other friends and family that have known me for my entire life, nobody reached out. That one person that had known me for 6 months reached out to me. And I was like, dang, this is sick. So just want to share that out because that's how I did the third deal.
Let's pause. Let's pause there, dude, because there's so many lessons in that. And I mean, I love this story. I've never heard that. I don't think you told me the story. So, number one, what were you posting? What were you sharing? Because I think you're totally right on. One of my best friends, Brian Lubin, tells us all the time. He's like, whatever you're doing, doesn't matter if you have 5 followers or he has like 250,000 of followers. He shares and documents the journey. So, what did that look like for you?
Right. So at the time, number one, you have to get rid of a lot of limiting beliefs and insecurities. So different levels to the game means that you're going to tackle a different insecurity. So at the time, the insecurity that I was battling was, am I good enough? You know, and that's a big one. Am I good enough? Like, so what does that even mean? Am I good enough to be posting on Instagram right now? You know, so many people don't post because they don't think they're good enough to post anything. And I'm like, it doesn't matter if I'm good enough or not. That's not why I'm posting. I'm posting this because I want to just share the journey. And so that was like a limiting belief I had to be able to overcome. So I was just posting, dude, I posted that we launched and our bottom floor flooded on the first month of launching. Like that's even sharing that takes guts. Like it you had to remove a piece. But every time I did that, this is what people maybe they don't understand. Like for me, every time I had a fear of posting something, once I was aware it was a fear, I was like, dang it, I have to post now. Right now we live with my wife's parents, and the studio that I had was like right next to my bed and right next to my my drawers are. Right, that was like where I shot content. I was afraid of sharing that, and as soon as I got the awareness that I was afraid of it, I was like, fuck, I got to share this now. This is the only way to
I
overcome
love
it.
this. Yes.
Yeah.
That's so cool, man. And there's just, I think so many people struggle with that. I definitely am one of those people. Like I used to always struggle about like, oh my gosh, for me, it was even like something simple as how do I look? I want to make sure I look good or I sound right in this video. So in the simple things, like you
Yeah.
said, whatever you're almost afraid of or your insecurity, if you just show that, that's like when people really build that trust. Like I think I just took a video right before we hopped on. I'm like, guys, look at my setup. My setup is like 4 random magazines because I'm tall on top of a table to like make this look somewhat decent. And then I'm holding the mic right now, guys. Like you don't have to
Yeah.
have some kind of sexy, crazy
That's
studio.
it.
Like you just gotta take action, make it happen. And if you lead with authenticity and just like with value, people are going to want to be a part of whatever you're doing. And dude, I love that story. So I'm curious. A lot of people are like, oh, Jesse, you must raise money. I've never raised money. I have people offer, but for me, I just haven't taken that step for investing in a property with someone else's money yet. So what does that look like? What are like the terms? How do you even like go about that conversation when this lady's like, yeah, I'll lend you money, but what does that look like?
Yeah. So a lot of for me, the third and fourth property and the second one, right? They're all other people's money. Literally all of them are other people's money. The first one was my wife's money. Second one was her parents' money. Third one was this random person's money. The fourth one was my best friend's money. So I really never had to lock up so much of my own capital in these deals because remember, I was broke. Like I had quit my W-2 job. I didn't have any money. So again, limiting belief, right? I don't have a job. I don't have any money. Therefore, I can't invest in real estate. False. Um, so to answer your question, how do I structure the deals? For me, most important is my reputation. So in the beginning, they were really looking to me to structure the deal, and I wanted them to know that I'm doing this to help them, not to help me. So I offered 60% equity, and then I offered 80% of cash flow until they got all their money back. And that way I was really just taking pretty much an equity deal. I was only going to make 20% of profit until they made all their money back. And then we'd go to a 60-40 profit split. But again, for me, it wasn't about the money. It was like, dude, you guys really trust me with your money. Like, I don't need it. I don't need this cash flow right now. I want you to feel like you're getting the better end of the deal. So that's how I structured those. And then even now, though, like one of the deals is going really well. One of the deals, dude, I just paid him $5,000 last month. You can set up quarterly, monthly payments or whatever that you structure with your PML. In this case, I paid him quarterly, and I gave him a $5,000 like wire, or I guess it was a ACH deposit. He didn't do anything. Like he hasn't done anything. And I just like sending him mailbox money. Awesome. When it works really well, everybody's happy. The other investor, unfortunately, like we've had more trouble. We had 4 evictions last year, and it's just been more of a challenging property with maintenance. So like I haven't been able to pay her as much as I want to do. So she's not getting the best return on her money. Like that's true. But I'm now covering like any additional expenses because I'm in a better position, right? She had borrowed some money as well. So like I helped her pay some of that money back. And then I'm just reducing it off of her principal. Because at the end of the day, I know we had a contract, but the contract doesn't mean anything. Like as I just want to take care of her because she trusted me at the time that I needed it. So now we're turning that property around because I let her know like we're going to keep this property for years, right? Decades. So the 1 year it takes us to learn some of these problems. Why did these evictions happen? We obviously changed property managers. We had to fire, let go of one of our property managers. So there's just things that happen that we had to make adjustments to. And unfortunately, you don't know which property you're going to get your lessons from. And so that's part of the risk. And so she trusted me, but now I'm giving her 100% of the profits. Anything that I had paid for afterwards, like she hasn't had to pay anything for any of the properties since the beginning. So again, that's off contract. I'm not doing that according to our contract. I'm doing that because I care more about my reputation and making her whole. So just wanted to share
You
that.
mentioned, yeah, no, that's amazing. And I think more people need to think that way when it comes to, private money. It's like, how do I make them understand that this is actually an opportunity for them? Like this is a favor for them. So all of us like go in there like, oh my gosh, like they're doing a huge favor for me. Like I can't believe I'm going to get money from someone. Like I love how you switched that. You did say 60% equity. So do they own 60% of the house, or is that what you meant?
Yeah, because I could have taken it as just straight private money, which is how I structured like my wife's parents' deals. That was just like straight private money. They don't have any equity, um, but there's no there's sometimes a bigger risk on me if I do a straight private money, right? Because now I am required to not only like pay the private money, but then I have to pay the service the debt of the property. And my goal is to scale. So I'm like, I wanted to be at 10 properties right now. It's just because interest rates, went crazy. I paused. Um, but I was like, dang it, if I scale with private money and I over leverage myself where my active income can't support any of these debts, that's a tough situation to be in if something goes wrong in one or two of these properties. And not only do I have to cover the debts, but now I need to service my private money lenders. So when it came to carrying long-term private money debt, I preferred to go the partnership route. So if for whatever reason we don't get the cash flow for a month, I don't need to make a payment to them. Right.
Okay.
So,
Okay. That makes
sense
sense.
there.
Yeah. So what I want to do, let's dive into co-living for just a little bit and pad split. And
Yeah.
then let's talk about this active versus passive and how you're able to, crush it this last couple months. And obviously you're going to continue crushing it. So when it comes to co-living, we already talked about this had the best returns that you saw. You're like, all right, out of state rentals, you buy them for 100,000. Oh my gosh, I could make $200 a month. Yeah. One AC go out and your whole 3 months or 3 years worth of cash flow is
Dude,
gone. Like
right.
I have friends
One
that,
vacancy
yeah,
kills your whole year of, yep.
100%. So there's so many reasons why cash flow wise, in my opinion, co-living is the best and even better than STR. Some STRs, yeah, they perform super well and maybe those will cash flow a little bit higher, but it's seasonal. So they're up and down. For co-living, as long as you know how to keep a house full, and they're good people, you're not having to deal with too many evictions, like that is the
Right.
consistent cash flow. So with that being said, you already talked about why you decided to do co-living. How did the partnership with Pad Split go? And then also you mentioned like different property managers. So does that mean Pad Split is not a property manager? Walk me through that
Yeah.
process.
Cool. So yeah, we got to clarify that. So Pad Split is simply like an Airbnb. They're just a platform. So they charge a fee. I think at this point they changed their fee model. So they take the first 10 days, they take 100% of the first 10 days that they bring somebody in. Think about it like a lease up fee, right? They bring somebody in because they're doing all the marketing. They lease that person up for you, and then they take 8% monthly thereafter. So my houses have 8 beds. 2 of them have 8 beds, so 8 bed, 2 baths. Another 2 are 9 bed, 3 baths. And Pad Split's the platform. So they facilitate, just like Airbnb, facilitate the communication, the task management. There's a rating system between the members, and your house gets rated as well by the members. So it Pad Split collects the money, then they pay you out or pay your property manager out. So just like Airbnb, they're not doing the physical management. Like Airbnb, you need somebody to physically go and turn the room, right? Turn the house after it's done. Pad Split does the same thing, where you need somebody to still go and physically turn the house. So Pad Split's your platform manager. You still need a real person, like property manager. And then the property manager manages Pad Split, communicates with the people too.
Got it. So when you said like, and we can walk through some of these evictions because I think, things that go wrong is where people learn, right? And
Right.
so you mentioned a couple of evictions and you're like, all right, switch property managers so we can, have better people coming into these homes. But from my understanding, and this is actually a question that I just have, are you able to vet people on Pad Split? Like
Yes.
how many questions can you actually ask? Because I know on Airbnb, like if you ask more than 2 personal questions, they're like, all right, you're being, you're discriminating for no reason.
Yeah.
So you got to be,
This is a good
careful.
question. 4 years ago, when we first got into Pad Split's system for bringing people in and vetting them, that's all we relied on. That's all we needed. So we didn't have a secondary screening process because we didn't need one. And we didn't deal with a lot of evictions. During COVID, we literally had like 1, maybe 2 evictions, during all of COVID, which I think was very good. And again, we're just using the platform screening system because they do a background check, right? They do their own screening. Over time, though, I think something, you just market to so many people that bad apples get into the platform with anything, right? This happened with Uber, with Airbnb. Just get bad apples that get access to the platform. They find ways to circumvent the background checks or whatever. And we did not have a secondary screening process. We only relied on Pad Split, and that was, again, our biggest mistake. And so that's where we actually suggested to our property manager, hey, this was after, of course, we were dealing with the evictions already. So That's what I'm saying. There was a property that we learned from, and we're like, we got to freaking do this for our other properties. So now we have a secondary screening process, and it's pretty simple. So the main thing we do for anybody listening, that's doing a rent by the room, co-living, where you're not maybe directly leasing, but you're using something like Pad Split, then we just ask them, hey, can you send us a picture of your ID, and then send us a picture of you holding up your ID? And like, that's like the one basic question we ask. The majority of people are the ones that do that and are comfortable doing it. That's good. Like, that's a culture you want in your house. Like, I got nothing to hide. I'll send you a picture of my ID, and I'll send you a picture of me holding my ID. I'm not sketchy. Let's do it. You got other people that are like, no, I'm not doing that. Cool. I don't want you in my house. Like, straight up. Because you had people that were using other people's ID to spoof Pad Split, right? That was one thing that was happening. So people that were using other people's credit, like all that stuff. So, just doing that little thing immediately just takes care of so much. And then, you got people, yes, you can call them. You can call them. You have 24 hours to approve or reject. So some people would call, and you can pretend that, you're working for the property manager or whatever. If you're the owner, it doesn't matter. And you're like, hey, I just got to do this thing. They're asking me to call you and run through these questions. Like, can I just ask you a couple questions? And then you ask whatever questions you want. Do you take your pet out to pee, or does your pet go to the bathroom in your room? The right answer to that is I don't have a pet. You know what I mean? Because you don't want pets at your house. So just saying, you can get as creative as you want. Hey, does your significant other come and crash every once in a while? Like, the right one there is like, I'm single.
I'm single. Right answer.
So because we want like just like individual people to live in these, right? Dude, we had families. It's seriously sometimes pretty sad, because we are targeting the affordable housing market. Like, people would message us and say like, yo, there's like a family of 5 living in room 6. And we're like, oh shoot. So now we'd have to go, and they got a baby and like kids. And I was like, yo, sorry, like, you guys can't be doing this and all that. So then they'd have to move out. But like stuff like that, then you got to try to vet. They're not bad people. They're in a tough position in their life, obviously, trying to make it ends meet, which is what we're trying to do too. But we're also trying to run like a good business that other people in the house are happy to live in.
Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing right there, is you got to be respect in the house for the other people. So, bro, and you mentioned that you don't want to do 8 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms next time. Probably you want to look for something with more baths, but you said it still is working out right now.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, since we're targeting affordable housing, it's more of a necessity than a desire. And I think that's why it can do very well when you have the right people, right? When you've got as long as you have the secondary screening process, like, it's okay to carry more vacancies in the beginning to get the right people. We've had somebody in one of our houses for 4 years now. 4 years, dude, that we've had one person. And so when you've got the right people and you start creating the right culture, it cash flows a ton. And again, you create a good environment for people. Like, right now we're contacting people, a strategy, just throwing it out there. You check in. Hey, look, we asked, would you pay a little bit more money for a ceiling fan, a desk, or a wardrobe or something, or a better wardrobe with a mirror or whatever? Like, you start trying to figure out, what is it that you guys want? Like, what are you willing to subscribe for more of? Because that's what rent is, right? Rent is like a subscription model for living. And so since it's co-living, we can provide more amenities and charge a higher subscription fee. So if you want me to go in there and install a ceiling fan, are you willing to pay $10, per week, or $5 per week more? So it's $20 or $40 a week more. If it costs me $300, let's say, for install and all the material, okay, my ROI is a certain amount of time, blah, blah, blah. But now people are getting a better experience. They get more amenities in their room or in their living situation, and you got to make a little bit more money, right? And so you start to have those conversations. I know some people offer mini fridges in some of the rooms, or some people offer TVs like with Roku's. So these are like additional amenities you can start to offer people so they enjoy living in their place. And then you just negotiate how much more are they willing to pay for this.
I love that. Those are some great amenities too. I've never thought about like just basic stuff like ceiling fans and like adding stuff to the room like that. Like mine come actually, you're probably the same. My standard is a nice queen size bed. Majority of them are queen size, and then a little nightstand, a lamp, and then obviously the closet. But besides that, like nothing like too crazy. Actually, I take that back. Now I'm doing dressers and TVs either mounted or on top of the dressers. So that's like my standard room. I have a somewhat different audience than you. More of my demographic is either, aspiring entrepreneurs or business professionals. Those are the people I target. So they can maybe even afford to go stay in a studio or one bedroom, but they're realizing rent is stupid expensive. I rather save that $800 every single month to go put it in my savings to go buy my own house. Or a lot of our guys are like, I'm going to live in this house maybe half the time, and they're traveling, they're having fun. So there's like definitely different types of people that you can target. And so I think you're doing something amazing. I think Pad Split is doing something amazing as well, targeting more of that affordable market.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about your. Just curious, what does a studio or a one bedroom go for in your properties, like or around your properties in that area? Like how much versus what you're charging?
Yeah. So like Growth House, because I think some people get it confused. Growth House is actually kind of separate. Growth House is like almost like a 3 month cohort, like intense, totally separate than just my normal co-living homes. So a normal co-living home still is targeting those business professionals. So exactly what I said, but these are just like standard 6, 7 bedroom homes, and the least expensive I think it's 900, and we do a minimum of 6 months. So 900, everything included, utilities, the TV in the room, etc. And then also what we do is the fastest internet. This is something that I was just getting overcharged. I was like, guys, why are you guys using so much internet? But I'm like, if there's 7 people in there, they're using like 5 different devices. Like, all right, I will spend the extra $50 a month to get you guys, the unlimited plan. But then exactly. And then also what I do is something that no one else really does, and it's weekly cleaners. So I have an amazing team of cleaners, and they charge me $250 per house. And what they do is weekly come in just the common areas, clean up, make sure it looks good, and then they take out the trash. Uh, that's literally it. But that helps so much because some people are super OCD. And so if they know every single week, at least someone else is going to clean a little bit, then they're good. So that's kind of like a way
Right,
for us to
especially the
mitigate.
bathrooms.
Yes, that's huge too. So have you thought of that, or do you know other people that do that, weekly cleaners?
We have weekly is a huge luxury, right? So because we do monthly, we do monthly cleaning. We don't do weekly. And I think the culture that I'm trying to start to create now is the people that can clean after themselves. Again, these people are, yeah, a lot of these come down into the culture. I've got one of my friends. He's like, "Hey, man, like I have an expectation here that people are going to clean, and we give them the tools to be able to clean, and we encourage other people to tell us when people aren't cleaning. And if they mess up once, twice, or 3 times, like there's enough demand for a good house in co-living that you just ask them to leave. If you got somebody that's not doing a good job to clean after themselves and they're messy, and the other, and again, remember, there's an internal rating system. It's not like the members don't necessarily see each other's comments, but we get to see who's messy, who's the one that's leaving their dishes out, or who's messing up the bathroom or whatever, right? So if that's happening too often, then we get to step in and say, hey, like, it's not working out, go find another house. And then now we get to create the culture in the house the right way. I know that for you, you're offering like it's like a little bit more luxury. I feel like what your co-living model, right? Because it just feels a little more luxury. Don't get me wrong, we still do once a month, but once a week is, that's definitely on the higher luxury level. What I'm thinking. And then something that we didn't want to create was people like, I don't have to clean. They're going to come in a week anyways. So right now, we don't see that there's a massive need for going to once a week.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, once a week is definitely over the top. Like every other week for us probably makes more sense. It's just now ingrained where it's like, all right, I'll pay the 250 every month. But something that we definitely have had trouble in the past, but like you said, it's a culture, and now it's totally fine. It's just like dishes in the sink. It's like, guys, you have to wash your dish after you use it. Like that's one thing that's like a
Right.
non-negotiable in our house. But you asked me about the pricing. So 900 is usually like 12 months, the least expensive room. And then what we do is $100 or $150 more if they want to do less. So, you know, 1,000 for a room for 6 months. And then our most expensive is probably our master, and that's 1,250. So those are kind of the rates that we charge. I'm curious with your house, you know, costing probably half of what my $400,000 $500,000 homes cost. What are some of the rates that you guys get?
Yeah. Dude, I think it's going to blow your mind.
I
My
bet.
9 bedroom, 3 bath, my 9 bedroom, 3 bath, I bought for like, you're still leaving money in the deal, right? So if you just do some math, we bought it for 230. We put $85,000 into it. So that's all in at 315, right? Plus closing costs, call it 330, right? 330, and it appraised for 350. And we did our cash out refi at 350, right? So we had a little bit of 20K equity. So you still have to leave money in that deal. But we were able to all in on a property that was like 350. You know, we probably left maybe 76. I want to say like $76,000 in that deal. The reason I'm bringing that up is because this is how we calculate our cash ROI, right? Okay, so if we're leaving $76,000 in a deal, it's a 9 bedroom, 3 bath. Well, what's our annual cash, return? So that property right now is making $2,000, or some months will hit three, but let's just say average is 2,000. So $24,000 a year. You do your cash on cash ROI on that. So 24 divided by 76. So it's a 31.5% cash on cash ROI on the money. So we're happy with that. My investors were yeah. So that's what we were aiming for, that 30% cash on cash. And this is at an 8% interest rate, right? So people are talking about like rates being a thing, but if you know how to structure a good real estate deal, you're gonna do pretty well. So okay, how are we doing that? Going back to your question, what's our rental by the rooms and all this, dude? Our 1 bedroom, 1 bath in a 9 bedroom, 3 bath house right now is between 225 and 285. 285 on the high end, a week, right? A week. Sorry, you're right. So 285, multiply that by your 4.3. That's basically $1,200 right there. So on the low end, you're probably at 150 a week. So which is only $600, right? 150 times. So you're looking at, it's between 600 and 700. So our lowest price room is probably between 600 and $700. More average is between 700 and 800. And then once you get into like a top tier single bedroom, 1 bed, 1 bath layout, you're going to be at like 900 to $1,200 a month. That's probably what you're looking at. And because you've just got more rooms, you basically just tack it on cash flow. But now, knowing what I know now, this is what I would do. I would create more of like a 7 bedroom or 8 bedroom, 6 bath or 4 bath. I definitely would want nothing less than 4 baths, because then I don't need 9 people in a house. If I have 4 baths, I can still make the same amount of money with a 7 bed, 4 bath as a 9 bedroom, 3 bath. And I'd probably get a higher quality tenant that stays for longer. You know what I mean? So then now I'm restructuring how I see things. And dude, we're helping to finance a ton of these co-living properties. Last month alone, we probably closed 20 pad splits, like 20 pad split loans.
Walk
So
me
we're
through
helping
that, because I think
people.
that's where I want to kind of wrap this up. Is what are you doing right now? Because you're helping a lot of people with these co-living homes, and that's where a lot of your loans are coming from. So let's
Yeah.
kind of wrap up with that. Like, walk me through, what does it look like for an investor right now? A lot of our people in the growth house community are like, I want to do co-living because Jesse talks about the cash flow all the time. So walk us through that.
Yeah. So number one, like, don't get spooked about the rate. Like, usually the people that get spooked about the rate the most haven't looked at the numbers. And so, your interest rates right now are going to be it's between 7 and 8. That's where the rates are going to be at. You can be in the low sevens if you're at 25 to 30% down. Maybe 20% down if you've got amazing credit. You can be in the low sevens too in some occasions, but you're probably going to be just between 7 and 8%, and it's August 14th. So that being said, if you are buying a regular property, right, we can tackle it two different ways. Number one is we just buy it with a D. I mean, you can use conventional, right? But conventional loan, obviously, if you want to use your income to qualify. I specialize in what are called DSCR loans.
Mm-hmm.
How did you buy your properties with DSCRs?
I bought them conventional.
Jesse?
Nope. Fill me in.
Conventional. So at some point, for myself, right, people told me, Fernando, don't leave your W-2 job. How are you ever going to buy a house? And I was like, dude, there are people smarter than me out there that have figured out how to buy property and not have a W-2 job. Like, there's no way Bill Gates over here or whoever, like those people that are very like smarter than me, they're not over here like, you know what, I'm not going to go build my own company because I want to make sure I can buy a house, like that's not what's going on. So for me, like the last 2 houses that I got, when I did my cash out refis, I was able to get the loan with no money, unemployed, none of my own cash. Like, there's just so many things. I did have good credit. Okay. Just a caveat. So I did have a good credit, and it's called a debt service coverage ratio loan, DSCR. And what that allows me to do is I use the income of the property to help me qualify for the loan. So I don't use my own income. So I don't qualify the person's income. I don't ask for tax returns. I don't ask for pay stubs. I don't even ask for 2 months bank statements. I'll only ask for like 1 month bank statement. And many times these DSCR loans allow people to scale. I helped one borrower. I like telling this story. There's a gentleman I'm working with right now. He's 80 years old, 80, okay, fully retired. And he's still building his real estate portfolio. I helped him refinance 5 loans, and I'm helping him buy 4 properties with one borrower. So and he doesn't work. Like, how do you do that? You use a DSCR loan, somebody wants to, like me, how do I buy properties without using my own money? If on a conventional loan, a conventional purchase, they're going to ask you 2 months bank statements, and they're going to ask you where you got the money from, right? How do you do it? You could do it with a gift, right? You can do it with your own assets. So there are still ways to navigate that world, but with the DSCR loan, many times we don't really care where you got the money from, or we only have like a 10-day seasoning period or no seasoning period at all. So that means, Jesse, you could smuggle whatever you want out of Spain and Portugal, bring it to the US, you know what I mean? And then like buy property. And I'm not going to ask you how the money got to the US. It's crazy. But so DSCR loans allow you to be significantly more creative in how you scale your portfolio. Did you already know that rule about like you can't have more than 10 conventional loans on your personal credit?
I've heard this, but I never looked into it. Is that true?
Yeah. So if you're trying to scale your portfolio, once you hit 10 conventional loans on your personal credit, you basically tapped out. The other way to get around it is you get a spouse, so you'd have to find somebody, Jesse, in wherever the world you are. Where are you at right now? Italy?
Rio.
You're in where?
Rio, Brazil.
Dude, how'd you get to Rio? You were like in Italy like a week ago or something, dude.
Yeah, about a week
tight.
ago I was in Greece.
There you go. You're in Greece. All right, cool, man. So as soon as you find, a mamacita, she can get 10 conventional loans too. So that's how a lot of like power duos collab is you get 10 conventional loans in yours, and then, your spouse gets 10 in theirs. And then
she gets a green card, and I get now 10 more loans.
That's it, dude. That's the trade-off, right? And she can use your money.
Exactly. Yeah, she'll be spending a lot more than just these houses. Dude, I love it.
I look at loans as they're just tools. So remember, I only became a loan officer a year ago, but before that, I was an investor. So as an investor, like, how am I going to structure all my purchases? Like I said, the first one was 15% down using my wife's income. Second was 10% down, vacation home loan. The third and the fourth, I used hard money, did the rehab, then I did a cash out refi into DSCR loans that I could carry, right? I could be the credit guarantor on, so that the people giving me the money on the deal, they don't have to put their credit on the name. They don't have to worry about personally guaranteeing that loan, right? That was me being able to do it without my own income, leveraging other people's money. So loans, they're there to solve problems, and conventional loans for sure. If you can roll with that first, like that's good. Eventually, though, like as you look to solve different problems, you got to expand your breadth of tools.
Man, there's so much more we can dive into. Fernando, one thing I really respect about you, bro, and I want everyone else listening to this. Fernando, when I hit him up, and actually, I think you hit me up, it's like, dude, I want to get on the podcast. And I was like, all right, bro. Well, this is kind of like the people that we're targeting, and hit me up once you hit 80K a month in a month. And he goes, all right. Hits me up, a few months later and does it. So I challenge you, Fernando. And most people have way too big of an ego. And they're like, all right, screw this guy. Jesse's a dick. Like, you easily could have said that. And so, one, I want to ask you, because I want other people to understand this perspective. Why were you just like, all right, cool, I'll accept the challenge. And I want to actually go back and hit him up once I do it?
Yeah, because man, how, so much to say right now. The main thing I want to say is you gave me a shot. When you came back and you said, go do this and hop on, easy. Like you set a target, you give me something to do. Like you just literally gave me the answers. You're like, hey dude, like here's the answer book. Like go look on page 5. So I'm over here just like, oh dude, I just gotta turn to page 5. Like I'm gonna go freaking turn to page 5 real quick. And then boom, that's it. You didn't say you're not the type of person I want on my podcast. You didn't say that. You said this is the type of people that I want on my podcast. Okay, cool. Like I just need to become that type of person. So you gave me a clear roadmap. And I think that's what I appreciated about you, that you responded, right? You and I have been talking for over a year now. So we've been cool, but like you didn't shut me down. You didn't look down on me. Like there was just so much that I felt I was happy with, like who you were, because you just gave me you gave me the shot, dude. And I was like, all right, it's up to me now. That's it.
I love that, man.
So
So
thank you.
everyone listening, like, no, thank you, bro, because you gave your time and also a lot of value on this podcast. And people, if you're looking to scale, and let's say you have, 1 or 2 houses, and you're like, all right, I ran out of money, but you want to get creative. Fernando literally has done it. He did it when he was unemployed. Like, if this guy can do it, he could also help you do it as well. So I just want to say, I want people to reach out, but here's the thing. I'm sure you listen to our podcast, so you know the question I'm always going to ask. It's people are going to reach out, but here's the thing: we're a go-giving community. So if someone reaches out and
Okay.
says, "Fernando, can I pick your brain about something?" Tell me, and I'll cancel them out of the community. We give value first. So what's 1 to 2? It could be something big, it could be something little that we can say, hey, Fernando, I want to give you this type of value, whether it's connecting with this person, whether it's to go, give you a
I
5-star
love
review
that.
somewhere. Like, what can we do to help you while we reach out and ask you for something, or to even just connect?
Yeah, man. I'm looking to spread the word about these DSCR loans, because I think more people need to have access to them. Last thing I'm going to share is when you go to buy a property, okay? People's debt to income ratios limit them from buying a house in Arizona. Easy. $500,000, $600,000 house. People don't have the income for it or don't have the debt to income ratio, right? Dude, I can use AirDNA. I can take the income, projected income. The property doesn't even have to be an Airbnb, right? I can use the future projected income of a property, right? That's vacant. Nobody's living in there right now. And I just look at AirDNA and I get to look at and use the income from the freaking AirDNA, dude, to help me use a DSCR loan to buy the property. And we can go 20% down. So information like that, people need to hear about it. So the best way that other people can bring value to me is help me find platforms to share this information, help me find people like Jesse, right? People that have a community that are willing to hear me out, be willing to hear this message so that I can help more people. That's really it.
I love it. I love it. And you give so much free game. So definitely tell people, how do people connect with you? And I'll throw one more even little thing out there. When you reach out to them, say, hey, Fernando, I love this and this, or I learned this and this about this podcast. I came from the Growth House podcast. So he knows where you guys come from. And also, even me, like, I love when people reach out to me and say, Jesse, I love this about the episode. Like, that makes my day. So if you reach out to him, say, dude, you
Yeah,
were great on the Growth House podcast, and I learned these two things I didn't know about DSCR loans. And then one other thing that's super simple, go subscribe to his YouTube channel. I watched his YouTube. That's how I found this guy. I was like, I want to
that's
scale.
true,
I
huh?
ran out of money. What do I do? That's how I found this guy. I'm in your position as well, guys. We're in this together. So give your YouTube channel and then give the
Got
best
it.
way people can reach out and find you.
Yeah, man. So Instagram is at it's Fernando Corona. So ITS, it's Fernando Corona. And then YouTube's the same thing. You just type in it's Fernando Corona and I should pop up there too. Or type in what is a DSCR loan? I think I'm the highest viewed YouTube video for what is a DSCR loan. Yeah, I think we're like 40,000 views or something, which is pretty cool. Like I was like, whoa, this is wild, dude. So it's really exciting that if you saw that too. Those are the best two ways to get a hold of me right now. My cell phone number is 626-714-2440. I'm open to sharing that too. I mean, it connects to my office line as well as my team and myself. But that's it, dude. Just yeah, I'd love to be part of your community and Growth House, dude. I've been following you. Remember I first messaged you? I was like, dude, what are you trying to do over there? You're like, bro, I'm doing this co-living, working professionals. Like, did you really quick? Do you have a studio like or a phone booth like for people or like to shoot content in or to take calls in? Did you build something like that? Dang, dude, I tell people that story. By the way, I I talk about that too. All right, man. Well, thank you, Jesse. This has been awesome, man.
Dude, Fernando, it's been an honor. I'm glad to call you a friend, and let's definitely, obviously, we're going to stay connected. And I'd love to come have you speak at the Growth House. We even might need to do a part 2 to deep dive into some of these type of loans, because this is something that a lot of people get stuck on. So, bro, appreciate you, and I'm excited for this podcast to come out.
Thanks, Jesse. Appreciate you, man. See ya.
Peace.